Hi everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Kickstart Your Real Estate Investing. In this week's episode, we'll talk about the second search criteria, which is the age of the house on which you're going to invest as part of your real estate investment strategy. Okay. If you recall from previous episodes, what we discussed was we're going to look at single family homes and you're going to look to buy and hold strategy. So the first thing we discussed in the last week's episode was how much is the cost of the house and what is the down payment going to be and how much money you need to keep on the side for a house which you're buying. Okay. In this week's episode, we'll start talking about what is the age of the house on which you're going to invest. Now, there are multiple different types of strategies you can employ here. One is that you can buy a house which is brand new from ground up, work with a builder and buy a house and rent it out. Other is you can buy a house which is 5 to 10 years old. There are different pros and cons of that too. Or you can go for older houses, fix it up a little bit and rent it out. Again, different strategies there, different pros and cons for that too. So in this week's episode, I'm going to focus on one strategy, which is you go ahead and buy a brand new home from a builder and then you rent it out. So this strategy has worked very nicely for me in the past, and this is something I would suggest to anyone who is starting out, who does not want to get into a lot of operational or capital expenses and wants a very simple way in buying a house and then renting it out. Okay. So what are the pros and cons of going with this strategy of buying a brand new house? So the pros of that is, like I said, it's when you have a house which is brand new, you do not have a lot of operating or capital expenses which you need to worry about. Everything is new. Your flooring is new, your carpet is new, HVAC system is new, your kitchen appliances are new. So in that case, what you're doing is making sure they get the right tenant in the house, and then you're all set from that perspective, at least for the first few years. Okay. The next one which you need to think about from a pro's perspective is you get to customize as much as they can allow it to you, customize the house so that it is as per your specification, where you have the right kind of flooring in place, the right cabinets in place, so that you can decide based on your budget what kind of house you want to build. Okay. Third thing is, because these are brand new construction homes, your down payment is going to be spread across a few months. So what does that mean? When you go and sign a contract for a brand new home, you're basically putting like 3.5 to 5% of the down payment, which you need to make, right? So if it's a 400,000 house, and normally you would have to make like a $80,000 down payment, which is the 20% of 400,000. In this case, what you end up doing is you start off making somewhere between $12,000 to $15,000 as an initial payment for the builder to start building. So all the risk of building the house falls on the builder, and you are basically waiting for the house to be built, and then you basically go on the closing table, go and put the remaining part of your down payment. So it allows you to start off, get a house on paper, and as they start building it, you do not need to put all the money right away. You have enough months, 6 to 8 months, to get the money ready for that. Okay, so those are some of the advantages you have. Now, what are some of the cons or disadvantages of going with a brand new construction? The most obvious of that all is that it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be more expensive than buying a used home or an older home, because brand new construction takes into consideration the construction cost and all the new stuff they have to put in. So it's generally going to be more expensive. So you have to think from a perspective of, can you really afford a big new home, or would you be rather taking a smaller new home or a bigger older home? And you have to just decide what the cost factor is going to be and what you can afford to buy. Okay. The second one is, because these are brand new homes, they generally are in communities which are not fully developed yet. Like, what does that mean? So most of us live in cities which are already developed. There's a very good school system in place. There are a lot of good amenities around, but what happens is the builders run out of land, right? So they basically say, okay, what is going to be the next society or the next place where everyone is going to go to start working from, right? Or where everyone is going to start living from. So what is the next location which everyone is going to go? What is the next town, the next city everyone is going to move into once the current place is getting maxed out, right? So they generally go and do a market research and decide, okay, there is this place which is 15 miles away from the city center, which is really going to have a good growth, and there are going to be a lot of people moving there. So now you're going and buying into a place which you do not know much about. right? So you need to make sure that you're comfortable with the fact that you're going to go and invest in a particular subdivision or a particular location which is not fully developed yet, but you're putting bets that in the next 2 to 3 years is going to develop enough so that you can make money out of that. Okay, so keep that in mind. So those are two main areas of concern you need to be worried about when you talk about brand new construction. Now, how does the whole brand new construction process work? It's pretty simple. You basically go and work with builders who are okay working with investors, and they will show you different lots on a plat map, and then you basically say, okay, I like this lot, or versus I like some other lot. In future episodes, I'll go into how do you go about selecting a perfect lot which will make sense for you to as to build your investment home. So once you decide on the lot, once you decide on the floor plan which you like, whether it's a 3-bedroom, it's a 4-bedroom, or a 5-bedroom, whatever makes sense for you, and then you go ahead and say, okay, for on this lot, I would like to build this plan. If the builder allows that plan to build on that lot, then you go to the selection processes and say, okay, I need a vinyl hardwood flooring, I need a level 2 carpet, I need level 3 cabinets, and so on. And when all the cost of that is accumulated, they basically say, okay, this is going to be the cost of your home. Then you make some part of a down payment or an initial payment which you make for them. And think of it more like an earnest money you're putting down. And 6 to 8 months down the line, when that particular house is ready, you can then just go in and start renting it out. Okay. One thing to keep in mind is the timing of it. So most new construction takes 6 to 8 months to make. So when you are going to buy a construction, like a brand new construction property which is not built yet, you need to factor that time. You do not want a house to be ready in the middle of winter. So that is, it gets even harder to find people to rent it out to. What you want is, you want to tactically look at it and say, okay, if I'm going to take 8 months for this house to be ready, then I need to make sure I start my process somewhere in the August, September timeline, then it's ready by next April, May, when it is time for people to start moving, and you can very quickly find renters then. Okay, so those, my friends, is what you need to look at, and when you think about buying a single family home brand new and renting it out. It's a very effective strategy. It has helped me a lot, and I hope that if you want to follow this through, it can also help you. Okay, so stay tuned next week as we go deeper into different kinds of houses which you can look at, and I will also be putting a video out there of a single family home which we just built and we are renting it out, so you can see what a new constructed home looks like and what are some of the changes we have made in there, so that we can rent it out more effectively. Hope you like this episode. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.